Before Camelot shone bright, before Arthur pulled the sword from the stone, before Merlin uttered his first prophecy, there was a land steeped in ancient magic, a land where the veil between worlds was thin and powerful women walked paths unseen. Our story begins not with a hero, but with a shadow, a mystery woven into the very fabric of legend. She is the priestess, the healer, the enchantress, the enemy. She is Morgana le Fay, and her truth is far more complex than any simple tale of good versus evil. To truly understand Morgana, we must travel back, far beyond the castles of Camelot, to the whisper of ancient Celtic beliefs. Here, in the wild, untamed lands of pre-Roman Britain, magic wasn't a trick, it was the very breath of the world. Healing springs were sacred, forests held spirits, and powerful female figures, like the Irish goddess Morrigan, a deity of war, fate, and prophecy, or the Welsh figure Rhiannon, a symbol of sovereignty and the otherworld, wielded immense supernatural power. These were not wicked witches, but revered priestesses and fairy queens. Morgana's very name, Morgan-a, translates roughly to sea-born, linking her to the mystical element of water, and her surname, Le Fay, literally means the fairy, connecting her directly to the ancient, powerful race of the Sith. She was a bridge to a forgotten, older magic, a living remnant of a world that was fading away. When Morgana first appears in recorded history, around the 12th century, her image is remarkably different from the villain we know today. In Geoffrey of Monmouth's Vita Merlini, Life of Merlin, written in the 1150s, she is not a villain, but a benevolent and powerful figure. She is depicted as the chief of 9 magical sisters, ruling the enchanted Isle of Avalon, the legendary Isle of Apples. Here she is a supreme healer, a brilliant scholar, and a mistress of magic, capable of changing shape and flying. She is the one to whom the mortally wounded King Arthur is carried to be cured by her incredible magical arts. This early Morgana is a figure of pure enchantment, a pagan goddess-like queen who offers sanctuary. How did this benevolent healer become the malicious sorceress determined to destroy Arthur? The transformation began with the clash of cultures and beliefs. Meanwhile, as Christianity swept across Europe, the ancient pagan traditions, which once saw powerful female magic as divine, began to be reinterpreted. The wild, untamed magic of figures like Morgana was slowly demonized. As the Arthurian legends evolved, fueled by French authors like Chrétien de Troyes, the focus shifted from ancient British lore to chivalric romance and Christian morality. Suddenly, magic needed to fit into a new moral framework of good versus evil. Morgana, the powerful pagan sorceress, became a threat. Her familial connection to Arthur, as his half-sister, was introduced, adding a layer of personal betrayal. She was educated in magic, often alongside Merlin, but her motivations began to darken. This created a profound rivalry. Merlin represented sanctioned, courtly magic used to uphold a patriarchal Christian kingdom. Morgana represented the wild, independent, and feminine magic of the old world, a force that could not be controlled. The seeds of her villainy were often sown in deeply human emotions. In many versions, Morgana's hatred for Arthur stems from a profound betrayal tied to the circumstances of Arthur's birth. Uther Pendragon, Arthur's father, used Merlin's magic to trick Igraine, Morgana's mother, into conceiving Arthur. This act of deception created a deep-seated resentment in Morgana. She felt her family was violated, her mother shamed, and her own claim to power ignored in favor of this magically conceived heir. Furthermore, her intense dislike for Queen Guinevere, often fueled by jealousy, became a major catalyst. She saw Guinevere as a symbol of the superficial court that rejected her own deeper, older wisdom. It was a court that celebrated chivalry on the surface, but was rife with hypocrisy, as exemplified by the Queen's own affair with Lancelot. And it was this hypocrisy that fueled one of her darkest plots. In many tales, seeking to create an heir with a rightful claim to the throne and a perfect weapon to destroy Arthur from within, Morgana used her magic to disguise herself. She tricked her own unsuspecting half-brother Arthur into sleeping with her. From this incestuous union was born a son, Mordred. Raised by Morgana in hatred and ambition, Mordred became the ultimate instrument of her vengeance. He was the living embodiment of the secret sins of Camelot, the knight who would one day expose the kingdom's corruption and bring about its final tragic downfall at the Battle of Camelot. This act cemented Morgana, not just as an enemy, but as the architect of Camelot's doom. As the legends progressed, Morgana's magic became overtly sinister. She wasn't just a healer anymore. She was a mistress of dark arts. Her powers included potent illusions, shape-shifting, creating enchanted items, and casting powerful curses. Her intelligence was her most dangerous weapon. She understood human weaknesses, expertly manipulating desires and fears. She gifted a poisoned cloak to Arthur, sent an enchanted drinking horn to the court to expose Guinevere's infidelity, and famously stole the magical scabbard of Excalibur, the true source of Arthur's invulnerability, and threw it into a lake, ensuring her brother could be wounded in his final battle. Unlike Merlin, who often used magic to uphold order, Morgana used it to disrupt, to challenge, and to reclaim what she believed was rightfully hers. Her definitive portrayal as Arthur's primary magical antagonist solidified in Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, compiled in the 15th century. Malory's monumental work, one of the first major books printed in English, became the standard version of the legends for centuries. It painted Morgana as a consistently malicious and powerful sorceress. She was presented as the ultimate pagan threat to the Christian kingdom of Camelot, her schemes relentless and her hatred for Arthur unyielding. Because Malory's version was so widely distributed, this image of the purely evil witch became the one most people remembered. Yet, even at the end, her character retains a profound ambiguity. After the devastating Battle of Camelot, with Arthur mortally wounded by Mordred, who comes to his aid? It is Morgana. Alongside other mysterious queens, she arrives on a black barge to escort him to the mystical Isle of Avalon. Is this a final act of reconciliation, a last vestige of her original healing nature, or is it simply the acceptance of fate, the priestess of the old ways reclaiming the fallen king for the otherworld? Her role in Arthur's final journey leaves us with more questions than answers, blurring the lines between adversary and protector. And this ambiguity is precisely why Morgana le Fay continues to fascinate. In films like Excalibur, she is a formidable villain. In TV series like Merlin, her tragic descent from a kind ward to a vengeful priestess is a central arc, but perhaps her most complex modern interpretation comes from Marion Zimmer Bradley's revolutionary novel, The Mists of Avalon. For the first time, the story was told from her perspective. Here, she is a priestess of the goddess, fighting for the survival of her matriarchal traditions against the encroaching patriarchal Christianity and Camelot. She is not evil, but an anti-hero, a defender of her world. This book single-handedly transformed Morgana into a feminist icon, a symbol of female power and the enduring strength of the witch archetype. The mystery behind Morgana le Fay is the mystery of transformation itself, from a benevolent fairy queen to a malicious sorceress, and finally to a nuanced anti-hero. She is the wild magic that refuses to be tamed, the ancient wisdom that challenges new orders, and the wronged woman who seeks her own form of justice. Her story echoes through the ages, reminding us that true power, like true character, is rarely simple. It is in these shadows and complexities that her legend truly lives, and perhaps that is the most enduring magic of all.